5:30, so we'll call to order the regular school board meeting of the Madison Central School District on Monday, March 9th, 2015. Mr. Brooks will record the members present or absent, and we do have a quorum, so we'll move on to item number 4, the Pledge of the Allegiance. You may remain standing, Mr. Nelson. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On to item number 5 then, which would be approval of the agenda. We don't believe that we have any modification to the agenda, so I would accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Miller. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Thompson. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare that the motion has been approved. Item number 6 is our consent items, which includes items number 7 through 9. We have minutes of the February 9th meeting that will need to be approved. We did bills tonight. Mrs. Sims, Mrs. Thompson, and myself went ahead and looked at the bills. Mrs. Sims, Mrs. Thompson, anything that you saw we need to be aware of?
I did not.
Okay. Personnel actions, we'll turn that over to Mr. Schaefer at this time.
On item 9, the request to hire Cody Casella as a high school student that we've retained to be a substitute custodian, and then to stay with us during the summer months at $8.50 per hour. Elizabeth Mullen has agreed to come in on Title I teacher to replace Kayla Strang, who resigned at the end of February. And so she'll take care of that job through the rest of the year. And then Laura Bergeline has submitted her resignation as speech pathologist effective at the end of the school year. And Laura is taking another position. And so we are already advertising for this position, as well as a 5th grade position and a special ed teacher. Reduction in force this is the annual action that we do for this because of the unreliable funding of that program. So Tamara Young and Kim Seitz will be getting notification, and they've done this every year for at least the last 8 years. So our recommendation is to approve the personnel action.
Okay, so under the consent items, we've got the minutes, we've got the financials, and then the recommendation from the administration on the personnel actions. Someone wish to make a motion regarding the consent items?
So moved.
So moved to approve by Mr. Moore. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mrs. Sims. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Item number 10, hearing of delegations and written communications. Dawn, are you here to address us? Nope, just here, all right. Don't see anyone else, so then that moves us on to administrators' report. We got Dr. Cook's electronically and things. Then we see a special ed review. Mr. Schaefer, you want to turn that over, or Ben will go first? Okay.
I gave you guys all the reports from the last 2 months. Sorry I missed last meeting, we were busy, tied up with something, so. Any questions about the last 2 months or anything you see on there?
You've been busy.
A little bit.
Once again, appreciate getting the reports and appreciate the job that you're doing for the district. It's really, I think it's been a very helpful situation both for the district, and I think we'll see long-term benefits out of that also. Other questions or comments?
I have a comment if you don't mind.
Sure.
We had been in the administrative meeting last Friday morning and had a nice discussion there. And you know, we are in the business of education and informing and hopefully making a difference in the lives of children and families. And one of the areas is had that discussion with was the same discussion that I brought up at a board meeting here 2-3 months ago, in the fact that now that the county has a drug dog, that we will be, working on that and working with them in partnership of trying to ensure our public and our parents that, we're not condoning or turning our head to avoid problems, and we're going to actually be proactive and let people know that we will not tolerate any kind of contraband, drugs, and otherwise in the school building, and to hopefully try to educate our children so that they'll turn away from that type of experience in life. So, and Benny's going to be part of that.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. What do you want to do next, Mr.?
No.
Oh, that's a good question. Paula, do you have anything you want to?
Oh, no,
Bring
just
forward.
that this was our month, our sped review had to be done, but we finished it a month early, so we're done.
All right.
Yeah.
And in good shape, I might add.
Yeah.
Janelle?
Oh, here comes the quiz.
That's right, did you guys all read your pamphlet before I got
Who's on that?
here? I left you that pamphlet only in case you're having questions about what is junior kindergarten, how does it differentiate from preschool or kindergarten. So what that is just a flyer that delineates the standards that preschool covers, what junior K covers, and what kindergarten covers. And you'll notice there's a lot of similarities between the three levels. But what makes the three levels different from each other is really the ability of a child to transition to the right level through developmentally appropriate strategies and differentiated instruction as needed by the teacher, by the given kids in the group, by, kids tell us what they need, and then we're able to respond to it at each of the levels. Any questions about that program at all?
Looks very helpful.
I have a question.
Oh,
Before you move away from this topic, you want to talk a little bit about your early childhood focus and where you want to go and communicate and or you want to keep that for another meeting?
No, what I've been considering and talking with Mr. Schaefer about, talking with Head Start is a way to take our early childhood programming and mesh it with the Head Start programming. They have an empty classroom this year, and oftentimes in different districts and different communities, Head Start and the public school have a partnership. Paula and I have talked about this as well. And what happens in those situations is their kids have needs, and they also have a need to be integrated with a general education population. We have that population, and we have early childhood special education, and they have a specific population that they serve. What's common among all of that is the age of the child. So it makes good sense to start talking about that partnership and to see what we could do between our facilities without overlapping staff. There could be some cost savings to all the programs, and in the course of that happening, develop a better program for all the kids who flow through it. So it could be beneficial for not only the cost saving and the fiscal end of it, but even a better opportunity for our kids. And then we tie that up into our junior K program, into our kindergarten program, and onward through there. And I've been serving on I just got named to the Head Start Policy Council, so we've been working with their staff leader, their new director, and she's interested in some of the same things, because as the cuts came to public schools, they also came through to federal agencies like Head Start. So, and I mean, even as things are replaced or times get better, there's still a reason to be fiscally responsible and to look for better ways to deliver the system. And then, in junior kindergarten, I've been talking to the parents individually. Mrs. Johnson and I are getting ready to send out a survey, just a short, probably a Google Doc with 3 or 4 questions on it to see what their response is to junior kindergarten. Most of the parents who have a junior kindergartner have been very excited about the program. They've seen a lot of growth in their kids, socially, emotionally, and academically. We've got a lot of pre-readers ready to take off and read books right now. They're comfortable reading and writing and doing math activities, and having gotten the opportunity to kind of grow up and to sit at different periods of time and to build up their endurance to not having to sit for 15 minutes like a kindergartner might, because junior kindergarten, we're a lot more active and interactive. Not that kindergartners have to sit and do work all the time either, but when you compare the two programs, I would tell you, my philosophy is, nobody in the K-12 probably wants to sit and write all the time. Which is why I'm standing, because I'm not a good sitter. But, I mean, that being said, I think we're developing some really nice programs that roll right into each other, and it's gonna benefit kids K-12. I mean, not only in their experience in junior kindergarten, or first grade, I think you're gonna see more successful, confident students as they go into the middle school and into the high school and out into the real world. And we did have our kindergarten readiness screening last Thursday and Friday. And we screened 65 students. The previous year, we had screened 80. But given that information, we also have 22 in junior kindergarten that become part of our 65. Of our 65 right now, I would tell you between 14 and 18 are probably looking at junior kindergarten. So we're still looking at the kindergarten about 80, and that's without any mobility through the summer and at registration. The last 2 years of registration, I've consistently gained 15 the first year and 10 last year at registration. So I think we can confidently say we're still 4 sections of kindergarten and a section of junior kindergarten in that. Given that information about junior kindergarten and this readiness screening, I'd like to take an opportunity to thank the kindergarten teachers, the Title I teachers, the speech therapists, the county nurses, and PE teachers, all those people who put in a lot of extra time before and after the kindergarten screening, and on a long day on Thursday and a busy Friday morning. So
There are how many in the junior kindergarten right now?
currently there's 22, and that kind of happened because we had a couple move into districts who had been served by junior kindergarten. So it didn't seem equitable to say, well, we have one, but you can't have it.
Right.
But we do also, through different funding streams, have 2 associates that work with Mrs. Johnson in the junior kindergarten, and we made sure we took the time to develop professional development specific to what they would need, so they're able to deliver what kids need right in there. They're not just aides who walk around and follow kids, they're aides who are specially trained and highly qualified in that area.
Other questions from the board?
I love that program. I'm so glad that we have it in the town.
I'm pretty excited about it, obviously, so if anybody wants to come see it, come on in.
It's a busy room. It's a busy room.
I would say if you have any interest in knowing more about that program, you should stop in and see it, because I've been in there a few times. It's very interesting, and no question about it. And the amazing thing is about it, the 3 adults in there are all going about their business, independent, so to speak, and yet collaboratively with each other. And the kids know what's going on, the teachers know.
They're busy.
It's kind of a beautiful sight, actually.
And I've seen so much. My child was completely different than he was when he entered that. He's grown so much.
And we've
It's
got,
awesome.
different measuring sticks at different levels, but there's a lot of academic learning growth there too. But that's not the only great program we have down there.
She likes visitors.
I do. Thank you.
All right, I'll make mine short and sweet since Joe likes to talk so much. I came to you guys back in the fall about setting some foreign exchange policies because of the wealth of people that want to come in here. I've already filled our 4 spots, and just like that, I've had probably 10 inquiries. So I appreciate the fact that you went with that, and it's going to be a lot easier to blend 4 kids than it is 10 of them. So I actually filled our last spot today. So ended up working with good reputable companies we've dealt with before. So I'm pleased with where we're at with that. But I just thought I'd fill you in on that. Wednesday at noon, we have a meeting with our business community. This all ties into our CTE stuff. But Sanford gave $25 million with a match of $25 million for a program called Dakota Seeds in Build South Dakota. And what we're trying to do, the Dakota Seeds portion is paid internships for high school kids. So we're trying to link our CTE into the paid internship component. So we're trying to get our businesses in here. And then the GOED office will be here to actually present it from the state. They've had nobody take this up yet, so we're going to try and be the guinea pig for it and see if we can't get it going. The Build Dakota Scholarship, that focuses on high-need workforce areas, which once again tie into all the grant stuff that we're doing right now, because that really ties into the high needs. So we had our final exit interview with our grant on Wednesday last week, I want to say. And we did it exactly how they wanted it done, so we're kind of the model. So that worked out really good. So that's kind of where we're at there. I applied for another grant last Thursday.
Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday.
Thursday.
The state put a grant called EPSCoR, and EPSCoR is tied to STEM education. So I applied for $30,000 to put a robotics piece into our physics program, and also linked it into a business here in our community that does 3D imaging and things like that. So we'll see if we get it. We'll know on Friday or not, so if we get it, we'll let you know. But you know, it's there to enhance our STEM education, it's there to add the robotics piece, but it's also there to bolster what we do in-house too. It's not gonna add any more programs into what we do, it's just gonna enhance what we do, so. And then the last thing is, one of the things we began looking at is the possibility of developing an alternative high school setting for some of our kids that are struggling. I've had Dr. Cook and myself and Mr. Schaefer and the counselors, you know, instead of continually putting these kids back in classes that they can't get through, we need to set it up where they can have some success through an alternative-based setting, and then also still get them the elective piece, because those are the things that they need, the CTE things, because these kids might want to go right to work, but if they're struggling to get through the core content and we're not training them, it's just going to make it prolonged. So that's one of the things we're going to begin looking at, is what do we do with these kids that are taking things over and over and over and they're struggling to find some success. So an alternative-based setting where they would go in and do their core classes, a core class at a time, but yet get them out, get them trained in welding or whatever the case may be, whatever their outside passion is, and try to track them into the world of work a little bit. So, you know, we all know that traditional education isn't for every kid out there, so we need to find ways to meet the needs of all of them. So that's one way we can look at it. So that's what I got for you.
And you want to talk a little bit about how you plan on staffing that, if we get that?
Might be based off of numbers. A lot of it will be based off of numbers and in-house staff. Do we have anybody in-house that could take and shift and move? And so we're not looking, hopefully, to add money to the budget. We're trying to keep it locked down, but there is also a need. I'll go out and I might go out and see if there's grant money available to get something like that off the ground to help that process. So I can't guarantee that's out there.
And do you want to talk a little bit about the thought of being somewhat ungraded as far as grade level?
Yeah, you essentially would be course-driven, not grade-driven, especially for the high school more so than anything, because you might end up with a kid that can't pass Algebra 1 that could be technically a junior, that we will just essentially put them in there for that core class, and they'll do that core class through guidance, through structure. It's kind of the aim high format to a certain extent, except where we'll do it in-house. So.
And I think one more thing that both Dr. Cook and Mr. Shaw talked about, we talked about at least, in the fact that we're talking about a little bit on the non-graded, like junior, senior, sophomore, ninth grader, eighth grader, seventh grader, whatever. It'll be based on what the needs are of the kid, of the student, and not so much based on the year in which they're in school. And therefore, we'll have certified staff working working in this program. At least that's the outlook. The outlook is to have certified staff working in the program and working with students that need help at their grade level. And the idea is to allow them to be successful in a much smaller setting. Some of these kids get lost a little bit in the size of their world, so to speak, and need a little bit more of a reclusive or resource room type setting with staff that are geared to the mindset of finding a way for these children to be successful in their own right. And a lot of our kids come to us, they're so compounded with worldly issues that it's hard to sort that out and break it down to good educational environment. And that's what we're going to try to do.
Well, you got a list right here, and a lot of these kids probably will fit this bill quite well. And we need to provide that environment for them and keep them on track. I mean, I think that's what our job is. I mean, provide them the best education we can at their needs. I mean,
Well, and part of it is, you know, that just because they come into this program doesn't mean they don't have a good chance of being successful in life.
you know,
That's what we're gonna try to do, try to keep them with the mindset that they can be successful in life.
you know,
And stay in the educational system and all the way through and find their way. But without an alternative school setting like this, we think that we are missing the boat on some of our students.
eventually, unfortunately, I mean, studies show that a lot of times they become dropouts, and that penalizes them in the end too, so. We're gonna do what we can. You know, it's it'd be kind of more of a last ditch effort for some of them. But we gotta try something, so, we'll see where it goes.
Exciting.
That's where we're at. Lots of things going on, fall game tomorrow night. Proud of our kids, so, thank you.
Okay, a few other things. I want to notify you, that'd be Tom and Ryan and Sean, that we're going to need a building and grounds committee in the very near future. In fact, as we're talking, giving you the possible dates of March 12th, March 16th, and March 17th. If 2 of the 3 of you would be available, we'd appreciate your confirmation on that as soon as you can. We have a fairly long list of things to run through a good, healthy discussion. And as to what time of day you would like that, that's your choice as well. We can meet early, we can meet over lunch, we can meet after school. I think we prefer before school or over lunch. But that's your choice. That'd be March 12th, 16th, and 17th would be the 3 dates that we're proposing at this point.
What's your schedule?
I can this week for sure. Otherwise, Monday I could make it work.
Should we just shoot for Monday?
We can shoot for Monday. I don't know about Ryan, what his deal is.
He should be back, I think, wasn't that in the email, so.
Would you like to go?
Should we go Monday at noon, Sean, or what works best for you?
Let's do that.
Okay, then we'll send an email to Ryan, Tom, and Sean, and set it up for noon. And you want us to have lunch, so you don't have to worry about that? Or do you want to just not worry about lunch? That's a good answer. I mean, I don't, that's
We'll
not
take
bad.
lunch. We'll take lunch. We'll take lunch.
You probably won't get anything but a pizza or something like that, but that's about it. But if you need a lunch, we provide that lunch. So it'll be a lunch, and come as soon as you can to 12, and we'll try to keep it to an hour if possible. But it might run over unless you need to be gone by 1. Also, the budget committee, that would be Tom, Cam, and Ryan, putting you guys on notice that we're gonna have to meet in the near future. That will be to be arranged yet, because that'll come after the buildings and grounds, and we'll shake that committee out first, and then you guys will be called to the office to have a discussion in the near future. We did, of course, have the settlement now with mediation and all that is done, the checks are in, and Mitchell, what was that amount again? $86,926 between the 2 checks, and they have been forwarded to us, and we've deposited them, so that we're done with that. Health Insurance Committee meeting, that also will be coming down the road, so Mitchell will notify you of that. Bus garage project is scheduled to come out of the ground starting now in April, and the finish date is projected to be, needs to be done by August 15th. And so we're hoping that everything there works well. Some of the materials for the building package has arrived already. It's over here east of the new gym in that grass area between there and our property on the east end. So that's what that stuff is laying out there. We've had some meetings again. We had another meeting with the property owner and the renter, and Mitchell and I talk about the issues of the 11th Street water, 11th Street and the water problem that's been going on for years and years, but somehow we think maybe we have resolved that. City has given us verbal approval today, as a matter of fact, that the inlets that drop the water off the curb into the waterway and the culvert that goes under the road on 11th Street, right up here by where the new bus garden is going to go, will be bought and closed. So that will no longer be running water down that waterway by the trees. that go north along the side of our green space and where the bus garage is going to be in the DSU property. So I think that will alleviate some tension and stress on the part of that property owner and renter. And I'll notify them, they don't even know that yet. That call came in this afternoon. The parking, we've heard about parking ordinances being passed and approved by City Hall. There's a change going to come, I think, in the near future where here on 9th Street, there'll be no longer parking on the south side. And that's probably the biggest change that's going to happen right now. Parking on the north side of 9th Street will remain as it has been, and that is no parking there during school hours, as the sign says. But if there are parents here that come for like a middle school, what do you call that? What do you call those? Bucket drumming and guitar and the cruise concerts, you know, they come in, they're here for 45 minutes to an hour, and that's really the only place they can park. We recognize that. They can park there on the north side without any issue of tickets, I believe. I'm not so sure about the south side, so it's something that we'll have to work through as these changes come through. There will be changes on 11th Street too, but they're not going to do them this school year. That's what I understand at least. That's right, Ben?
Yep, before
that's
next school year.
Yeah. In talking with Beth Knuth and reading publications from her office, the Norm Johnson educator enhancement grants are open to be applied for by teachers now, and they close April 2nd. That's been something that our staff really has picked up on and do enjoy. And also received in the mail today a thank you from the South Dakota Community Foundation in Pierre, where our foundation puts larger sums of money at one time, and it says thank you for the recent establishment of the Don E. Gross Rotary Scholarship Fund within the Madison Central School District. And I just wanted you to know that Don Gross Scholarship has come into fruition, so to speak, and they met the criteria, and so they have a vested scholarship there. So it's a very nice deal for that family. AEDs, that's the defibrillator issues. We have put new batteries in them and made them make sure that they're functioning. And we're talking about relocating them to change some of the locations, possibly adding another one. The only thing is they're not cheap, and so you know we have I think it's 2 or 3 right now. 2 or 3. We have 3 right now, and some of them haven't been as publicly displayed as well. We maybe should have them. So we're talking about redoing that. So that's on the discussion board. Bud Postman has decided that he will be running for that 3-year position on the South Dakota High School Activity Association Board, and that's that 3-year position that a gentleman by the name of Wayland has resigned from, or will no longer. I think he's just timing out, so to speak, and so he will be hearing and seeing that he is running for that. And lastly, congratulations, because there is no apparent school board election. And Steve and Cammie have one more, have successfully campaigned and achieved their objective. For that, we're grateful, and thank you for your service.
Anything else, administrators?
Mitchell, do you have anything that we missed?
Okay, then we'll move on to item number 12, which is consider the approval of an E-rate consulting agreement. Is this you, Rob, or is it Mitch?
Mitch, do it. This is something new to us with E-rate. There's 3 components to this. We've been visiting with this gentleman who does the consulting on it. If we go to maybe that second page, we're going by the category 1, 2, and 3. 3 parts of this contract. One is we'd be hiring him to fill out our category 1 services. And part of this is in the next few years, the category 1 is going to be changing and actually phasing out. And going through some of those stipulations that are coming, it'll be difficult to what's all going to happen in those future years. But he has his rates for defining the category 1. The category 2 services, we've typically applied for ourselves, and we did for this next year, so there won't be any charges to there. But as category 1 phases out, category 2 becomes larger and new rules go into play, so we use this help for that. And then the prior years, with this E-rate funding, things unclaimed by districts and bound, you can apply back for. So he'll actually go on our behalf to go into past years to see if he can come up with some additional funding, and then it shows his charge on that. And then everything else in the contract is just the stipulation of what gets done and then what time frame that is. But this is something we've been looking at for a couple of years now. So I guess if you have questions, we'll take those. Our recommendation would be that we go forward with this. The E-rate funding. If you guys are familiar with E-rate, on like telecommunication services and internet services, the federal government will cover part of those services for us. We just have to go through and show our expenses and what services we have, phone lines and cell phones and that type of stuff. We have to justify it, and then they'll reimburse us back or have it taken off of our invoices that come from the vendors.
That's a substantial help to the technology budget.
Well, especially with the category 2, which we've never qualified for before because of our free and reduced lunch. But the new way of E-rate, now we do, and that will pay for hardware type things. So for the rest of it, category 1 is just phones, but that's why they're phasing it out.
That's what they'll think. That's what they're doing.
And with this agreement and with the new changes and the stuff, this contract, we pay that amount up front, but we'll more than make that up on the other side. That's why we're moving forward with this.
And we're actually looking at engaging this for a 3-year period.
3-year, yeah. And then it's on each of those lines, it is if we choose that category. If we can always file on our own. If under the guidelines they become easier, but the way it looks, I doubt they're going to become less than they are now. That'd be a lot more intensive.
So we have a recommendation from the administration to enter into a consulting contract for our E-rate. Does anyone wish to make a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Moore moves that we go into that contract. Is there a second? Mrs. Sims, second. Further questions or discussions now that we have the motion?
I just have a quick question.
Okay.
Terms of the agreement, it just says it'll be 3 years commencing July 1st, 2014.
Yep, it starts with this year. So he's going to
This
file.
is 15 though.
This is 15.
July 1st of 14 though.
Oh, he's
That-
going
that
to
was-
apply for the period.
He's applying for
Oh,
the
okay.
period.
Yeah.
Or for the prior period. Yeah. So it's starting with this year then. So we'll go back on our behalf to apply for previous.
Okay.
Yeah. So I should have stipulated that one, yeah.
Okay, further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion of approval of the E-rate consulting agreement, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Declare that that's passed. Item number 13, issuance of 2015-16 certified staff contracts.
Then this will be staff that are returned, or staff that we haven't received a resignation or anything from, or went through their policy, we'll be issuing the contracts for this next school year. With negotiations and 2-year cycle, will have their new rates. Contracts will issue out this Friday, and then be due back, I believe it's the last Friday of the month. And we can see which staff are planning to return, and which staff may not be planning to return on those positions.
So recommendation would be that we approve the issuance of all of our certified staff. And again, this is something we're able to do because we completed the 2-year negotiations a year ago.
We do this each year, same time we started. The year prior we did a little earlier, but we started around March 15th of each year, around that date, to issue contracts and then receive them back by the end of March. That way we know when we can post for positions of people not returning, if they return their contract back in and have a good timely manner on it. And we're also letting our staff know that we're issuing back. In prior years, we haven't always had the salary negotiated, so we've issued on last year's rate and then adjusted them when the settlement was reached. This year we have a pre-negotiated amount, and so we get issued with that term.
This will be only one set of
That's
contracts
right, yep.
that I get to sign,
Good.
and several others. All right, so motion and a second to approve issuance of the certified staff contracts. So moved by Mrs. Thompson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Sims. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declared motion is passed. Item number 14, county health nurse contract for the 2015-16 school year. Mr. Hanamichael has it displayed. Mr. Brooks, is that you again?
So this actually isn't the contract, this is our worksheet that develops our contract, but the main piece is it'll show the categories we were looking at. We did add some hours to this. We were kind of stuck in a spot where we couldn't do some items because we didn't have enough hours. So the total amount of this contract is $2,000. It's for 100 hours, so it's $20 an hour, which is a very good rate for nursing services. You can see just what some of the items are that are on there. And then the state issue contract, we kind of go above the contract. This helps them to plan out how their nursing services will be used across the state, and they start drafting contracts and send them out. And the reason we brought it forward is be for that dollar amount for these services. And then when the contract comes in, we can sign and send it back in a timely manner for them.
So then we're actually approving the contract or just approving the expenditure?
Approving the contract will be the contract won't look in this much detail, pretty much just have
Okay.
the $2,000, 100 hours.
So, but we're actually asking the board to approve us going forward with the contract, if these being the terms?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So recommendation would be that we approve the county health nurse contract with those terms that, for it, and that would cover the 2015-2016 school year. Anyone wish to make a motion towards that? So moved by Mr. Nelson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moore. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Item number 15, after-school RE summer school program. Mr. Brooks, again?
Yeah, yeah. Their official name is the Madison Area After-School Care Program, but it's for the summer school program. They put in their request for use of the elementary facilities again, the commons, the gym, the band room, and the bathrooms. Their dates are June 1st through July 31st. I'm using the building between 7 and 4 a.m. and Fridays till 1:30. About the only changes to this is our bus driver rate with negotiations changed last year, so it's $13.10 per hour. They have that for their field trips and that, and then the mileage is $1.25 per hour. And then the per student rate changed. We had a 3%, so it's 15 cents more per student. So it came to $5.15 per student per session on that. Otherwise, everything's pretty much identical to the prior year. If you have any questions on that.
So the recommendation would be for approval of the after-school care program for their summer program utilization of the elementary school campus areas, not the entire campus. Anyone wish to make a motion towards that? So moved by Mrs. Sims. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Thompson. Further questions or discussions?
It's $5.15 per student per day, or just per
Per
student per session?
student per session.
And there's 2 sessions.
2 sessions, correct.
Any guess on how many students?
Last year, there was 50 in the first session, 46 in the second. So the total charge for the facility for 2 months is $480.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the agreement with the after-school summer program, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare that has been approved. Item number 16, roof project for the high school.
So at the last meeting, we took this out to bid. You can see kind of the results on there. We had a good turnout. Last year we had 3 bids, this year we had 4. The low bid this year was roof systems. I'm going through the price per square footage and stuff. We felt that we got very good pricing from them. There's 3 options, whether we take the base bid, or do the base bid with the first alternate, or the base bid with the second alternate, which is all of the above pretty much. And that total price for all 3 is $157,800. And it'd be our recommendation to go with that, the option 3 for this next year.
Moves us one step closer to completing the roof renovations on the old portion of the building.
I do have, it's just a quick Google Map printout, but if you want to see, this probably isn't going to be very accurate almost. But M is between the old band and the old gym, and N is kind of the north area of the Voeg, and then L is in between those two, and then J and K are small pieces there, so it brings us around. This is, bottom was what we did last year. This would be this year, and if you want to look at that at any time, but we do have a listing of our roofs and the ages and the past pricing and things like that, but we kind of keep on file so we can kind of compare and see how everything's coming in. Then years where maybe the price isn't so good, we either don't accept and just pass what we can, or we take a smaller portion. Hard part is there's still a lot of roof out there that in the next few years will, it's reaching its point. We usually-
With this completed, there's still a lot more roof, is what you're saying?
Yeah, there's still roof, like above this section going back is the largest section.
Okay.
And with all, we do patch every year on a roof this size, we're always patching it gets done. There's a never stretch in that, but your roof is quite a bit different than this older roof.
And of course, roofs were not a part of the renovation project.
Well, the thing about it is, you have to remember that these roofs are coming due, so to speak, and they're running out of it. These are 15-year roofs that are running out of their 15-year cycle, so to speak. We don't wait for them to disintegrate and you know, leak profusely. There are occasions when we have a small leak and we'll go up there and fix that. Also, we've gone up there and added some life to some of the roofs by doing some procedures. And, but again, we're gonna, this area that we're talking about, these 15-year roofs are gonna be replaced by 30-year roofs. So the taxpayers and the future boards are gonna have some years of hiatus, so to speak, but they won't be looking at this on an annual basis. We do have some large areas that are coming due on their time. They're not due yet, but they're coming in the not too distant future, of 2 to 3 years. And but as of this point, they've been servicing us well and have not allowed the moisture penetration. And the inspection that we do with this company, they come and they walk the roof with Brad and to ensure the fact that they're looking for problem areas, and that's when they do some minor repairs to like if there's a certain amount of square foot or a crack that's developed. Because when, like this year, when the weather got really cold, that's hard on roofs, because they really, really become rigid, and at times they do break. And so we have already had that inspection, and so we're feeling pretty positive where we're at right now. Roofs are expensive, and flat roofs need to be monitored very closely because of the ponding and pooling. And we do have an issue with one area that is apparently a plugged drain, internal drain, meaning inside the building where it's piped into the building, down the wall and out. And we have one area that's not working, so right now we go up there and we pump that on nice warm days like this, so we don't have that water standing there. But it's just more maintenance that's done in an area that the general public never sees, unless you take flying lessons.
All right. Recommendation would be then that we accept the base bid and all alternates for the high school roof project for this coming summer. Anyone wish to make that motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Miller. Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Thompson. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare motion is passed. On to accepting then the district calendar for 2015-2016. We looked at this in January. We had some lengthy discussions since then. Mr. Moore and Mrs. Sims and the administrative group have been meeting. Mrs. Sims, do you want to kick things off here on this? Or?
Sure. I know Charlie visited about this at the February meeting, and we did have the opportunity to meet with the admin team twice in February, and once more after that, our last board meeting, where I think we mentioned that in 2015-16, we did make some adjustments to the initially proposed calendar that was brought before the board. Did some adjustments to removing 3 different partial days, turning 2 of those into full days, and then also adding a full day at Christmas break instead of having that be a partial day. So we took 3 partial days, turned them into 2 full school days, and then 1 full day where they are off. Another adjustment was made, one of those adjustments was in March, which was kind of a focal point of some of the initial consideration, and then we also added a day back into March. So with Easter falling early, we have a pretty open April in regards to being in school quite a bit, and just March having a little bit more time off. But I think I was very comfortable. I like where the calendar is looking right now. Charlie?
No, I was comfortable with it, and the discussion was good.
So it was good discussion, and so this is the calendar we've got proposed right now.
With that, I'm assuming you'll make a motion that we approve?
So, yes, I'll make a motion.
Okay, Mrs. Sims makes a motion, we approve. Is there a second by Mr. Moore? Further questions, discussions, or comments?
I just noticed that conferences were taken off of here. They were on the one we talked about in January.
But they don't actually schedule till later.
Okay, well, I'm just curious,
They
they were
have,
on in
yeah.
January, they're not now.
Before it goes completely public, we'll have talked about that. We wanted to make sure this was good.
Our spring conference this spring is scheduled for 1 long day, and we need to see how that goes, and then to determine if we'd be better off having 2 days like we did in the fall from 4 until 7, or is it more beneficial for parents to have 1 long day to schedule them, because we just want to make sure that parents are getting their biggest opportunity to come in for conferences.
Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor for acceptance of the 2015-2016 district calendar signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare the motion is passed. One more time, Cammie.
Okay, 2016 and 17. This is just kind of a proposed calendar right now since we are a ways out. Easter fell back into April, so that definitely helped with the layout of things. And not a whole lot to say about this one. It looked pretty good. It looked like the months themselves had a great number of educational days, as well as nicely spaced professional development once the students are in session, for the teachers to know who the students are and what they're looking at and what they need to be working on. So, and I believe this is also the year where we were able to put the professional development day over top of a conference that will be held in Sioux Falls.
Correct, that'd be the TIE conference.
That's for this
Yeah.
calendar, right?
Yep.
Okay.
No.
That's
No,
for
That was for
2015.
that was for the 15-16.
Oh, 15-16.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, yeah,
So-
we only want to go to the TIE conference once in Sioux Falls.
Yes.
And that's right, it's in 15-16 and 16-17, I assume it'll be back in that.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot to mention that for the 15-16 one, but that was a change of one of the professional development days that had happened in April.
And the TIE conference is a regional technology and education professional development day that a lot of the surrounding schools and businesses and corporations will be involved in. Pretty beneficial for our staff.
And with our TIE membership, we are able to participate, correct? Or will there be registration fees?
There's registration fees.
Significantly reduced for time members, though.
Yeah.
So that is what I have on the 16.
So then the recommendation or the motion would be to, we have consider, is that what we want to do, or do we want to accept? What is the thought here?
Well, from my perspective, and first of all, I'd like to say that we actually enjoyed the participation of the board members at those meetings. They came in on Friday mornings and spent, well, a minimum of an hour, sometimes more, just on calendar, and I think in a way they now understand a whole lot more than they did before as to the labor involved in and working through a calendar and developing a calendar. And the reason we are coming with an idea of 2 years instead of just 1 year is you'd be surprised how much of our public is asking already, you know, for this timeline in not only 15, 16, but 16, 17. Rhonda, my administrative assistant, she receives these calls and you know, 9 times out of 10, she has to tell them, well, we don't, you know, we do 1 year at a time. And so this year we thought, well, we'll project this out and see what you think as board members and what our public thinks. I think what the least we should consider would be the thought of the start date for 16, 17. And then we're showing you what the fluctuation of the calendar and how it impacts the school days, the school calendar. And the rolling of Easter, the changing of Memorial Day, and that type of thing, and how it makes the 16, 17 calendar much more palatable than what the 15, 16 does.
Yeah, it just naturally fell together so much better.
And it was a very relatively short discussion. Now granted, it's not this thing isn't all fleshed out, but it's not too hard to put in the rest of the details. If you tell us what day you're starting, and we can work the rest of this stuff through and come through with a really nice, thorough calendar. And Janelle brought up a good point. It takes a whole team to make sure we remember things. The variability of conferences, for example, because we keep experimenting on how to deliver conferences for the good of the child/family as well as the teaching staff. Because these are difficult times for teachers. Conferences take a lot of energy and a lot of time to prepare and then to go through that long day. I don't like conferences on Mondays because I think the staff is in jet lag the rest of the week. I'd rather have them towards the end of the week if at all possible to work that through. And sometimes that doesn't work. And sometimes it's better to have one long day. Sometimes it's better to have other, and we're experimenting, and that's why we're doing this. And so we'll come back with the suggestion on conferences, for example, on how we feel that we want to set that up in the future. But we're not ready to make that recommendation yet. So we wanted you to look at this 16-17 school year for some of the obvious reasons that I've just mentioned. And to get an idea, because if you're interested in recognizing this as a tentative calendar, we'd be pleased with that motion. If you're interested in just telling us that you're okay with the start date, we'd be very pleased with that, and then we can just go forward from there. So we're just kind of leave it up to you. Am I speaking accurately from the administrative team? Yeah.
This is the first time, at least for a number of years, if not ever, that a 2-year proposed calendar. They're very common in other districts. Sioux Falls does theirs 3 years at a time on there. So I guess, Charlie Cammie, what would be your recommendation? Do we say that we would accept this as a tentative calendar? Is that the way we would
That
want
would
it?
be my recommendation. It's the same start date as the 2015, 2016. It's a couple days behind because of how the calendar falls, but day-wise, it's the same start date. And Adam, with you, that's for these classes that are starting at college.
That mirrors the higher ed schedule.
Yeah, and then that matches them up with that.
And with the number of kids we have in dual enrollment right now, I mean, we're at 60-plus kids taking dual enrollment classes.
So then a motion would be in order to accept this as a, do we want to keep the word tentative in there probably, where we could, I don't know, procedurally, would we go back and then approve the tentative calendar, or would we?
I think you call it tentative calendar because it's pretty early to say it's set in stone.
And then at a later date, we can finalize it.
Okay.
This is tentative or projected or whatever. Just so, in a way, not only does the board then know what it is, but the public does too. So if the public wants to have comments or public input, then they have to speak up. But right now, I believe these calendars represent our public fairly well. There are always ideas. but the majority still has to be what we listen to.
So we would need a motion then?
So moved.
Okay, and the motion would be to accept this as a tentative calendar for the 2016-2017 school year. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moore. Further questions, discussions, comments? I'd like to thank Cammie and Charlie for taking time to participate in this. Thank the administrative team for their efforts also on this. Further questions, discussion, comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approving this as a tentative calendar, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare it as passed. We are going to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing non-certified and superintendent negotiations. We may make a motion following, but we could get that to the media if you would like when we're done, or you will stick around until we're done, whichever. Before adjournment, and that would be the item relating to the superintendent. Would someone wish to make a motion? Well, I'll make the motion. How does that sound? I'll make the motion that Mr. Schaefer be offered a contract for next school year with the provisions of the administrative two-year agreement being applied to his contract. Does that sound
Well, to the reader, they'll think that's a 2-year contract.
okay?
You
But we need to read that.
You might want to have words in there, something about, for school year 25, or school year 2015-16, superintendent's contract is, salary is increased or enhanced by 2.8%.
As per the administrative agreement.
Yeah, so,
I like that.
Got that, Mitch?
Kind of, all right, right?
We'll let him read it back.
we'll read it up, write it up
I'm
tomorrow.
like,
Mitch.
I'm not gonna start doing that.
Offer Superintendent Schaefer contract for 2015-16 school year with a 2.8% salary increase based on provisions of the administrative agreement.
Yeah, or as per administrative
Or as per,
agreement.
okay.
So I'd be happy.
With only, put only in front of
With only.
2.8 to
Yeah.
make it sound better.
You want that in there?
Put her in there, with a minimal 2.8%. Okay, words, whatever you want.
All right, so I'll make that motion. Would there be a second?
Second.
Second by, second by Mrs. Thompson. Would you read the motion one more time, Mr. Brooks?
To offer Vince Schaefer superintendent contract for the 2015-16 school term with a 2.8%, or do you want me to say that?
Not higher, just say that.
With a 2.8% salary increase as per administrative agreement.
Okay. So I have a motion, a second. Further questions or discussion?
They want you to put down for the record, we really would like to be able to pay more than Chester, but we just can't afford it.
That came from a non-voting member of the board.
And the recorder's off, that's it.
But Rob's is not.
Can edit it.
Yeah, edit that, please.
Yeah, cut.
Well, let's see, then, I suppose we better call for the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right.
You're in.
One
Then,
more time.
item number 20, adjournment.
So
A
move.
minimum of 1 more time. This is great.
Mr. Miller moves, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moore. Non-debatable, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.